Hello and welcome to episode 96 of the Movies in a Podshell podcast.
God,
the podcast where we take a theme and we pick two films to fit that theme. This week's theme, I guess, is 2025 superhero movies full of promise. The question is, do they deliver? And here is a guy who normally delivers, but can he deliver in Grimsby on a cold Wednesday night?
Oh,
You call him
football
John.
reference. Yeah, yeah.
You okay?
No, not really. Do you know what was typically last night? We were recording on Thursday, so Wednesday night it was the League Cup, and I decided to watch the Man United Grimsby game, and obviously United lost to Grimsby. And I thought about halfway through, I could be watching Alien Episode 4 on Disney Plus right now and having a really good time. But here I am.
Yeah, it was obviously it's one of those where like I was worried about. I almost put a meme up about it on our Instagram, but I thought, well, Movies in a Podshell
Niche.
doesn't. Well, no. Also, I also don't want to drive away any Man United fans that do listen to the pod or do follow us, because obviously John's a United fan and I am a Liverpool fan. So yeah, obviously we've got different beliefs, but I had a great time last night. Anyway, John, this is just
Dr.
opening
Pepper.
my Dr. Pepper, please. We'd love it if you sponsored us. Look at that camera. Oh my god. But yeah, oh my cod, should I say? Sorry, no more Grimsby jokes. But yeah, John, this is a kind of a summer roundup, if you will, as in of the box office. But we're going to concentrate mostly on Superman by James Gunn and The Fantastic Four: First Steps by Matt Shakman. It's a pretty cool second name.
Indeed. I mean, the first thing I wanted to go off was I saw Jurassic. I can't even say the name of it. The most recent Jurassic Park entry in the series. I've actually forgotten the name of it.
Jurassic World Rebirth.
Legacy. Oh, Rebirth.
That's how forgettable it was.
I mean, so I really wanted to talk about this because I feel like this was one of those projects where they've really tried to do a lot of things, like fix the issues people had with the previous one. So I never even saw Dominion because it had such poor reviews. I just had no particular interest in going
Nor
at
did
it.
I, no.
I will watch it, but at the time I was like, I'm not going to cinema to see it. And again, it was around the time my daughter was born, so I probably wasn't rushing to the cinema to go and see things I wasn't that bothered about. Anyway, and when they said Gareth Edwards was coming on board for a Jurassic film, I was really excited. Like, I love Gareth Edwards. I love his whole look. I love what he did with Godzilla. I love Rogue One. I know some people are like quite snooty about it now, and I know Tony Gilroy came on and had his influence on that film, but in terms of the visuals and how it's shot, it's 100% a Gareth Edwards films for me. And I haven't yet seen the creator, but from what I have seen of the creator, love the idea of
I've seen the
how it's
creator.
shot, etc. So when they said he was doing a Jurassic Park film, I thought amazing, and he said, hey, I'm going to shoot it on 35mm anamorphic, and it's going to look like it was found in the vault in the 90s as a Jurassic sequel that never got released. And I was like, that sounds really cool. And admittedly, this is marketing talk, and I got sucked in. It sounds like he didn't have very long to work on it. It was kind of announced and came out really fast, didn't it? And they got Simon Kinberg back to do the script, who did the original Jurassic films. And like, it was just really interesting to me how tired it feels. Like, the idea to me of being able to see dinosaurs, etc., should be still really exciting. And basically, you kind of got a greatest hits film. It felt a bit Force Awakens. It kind of got the, okay, here's a family like in Jurassic Park 3 or The Lost World, depending on your preference. Here's kind of like the chase sequence redone from 3 of them being chased in the water without getting into what dinosaur or whatever. But, you know, it was just a real shame to me because I think it was the best shot one I've watched in a long time. I do think it was shot really well. I think it looks stunning. I am on a bit of an anamorphic hype at the moment. I'm about to buy an anamorphic lens.
I've been getting like so many like videos from John about anamorphic.
And when you notice it, you can't unnotice it. So it's one of those things when you see it, you then see it everywhere. But anyway, and I think it's visually stunning. A visually stunning film, but there just doesn't feel like there's anything behind it. It just felt really hollow. I think it's like a really sad way to put it, but I felt, don't know if, how do you feel about it? I mean, this is kind of my latter end of blockbuster film I went to go and see. I literally went on my day off at like 10 in the morning to go and see it as well. But you know,
I think so. I give it a 2.5 stars, so 5 out of 10 basically. I didn't have a terrible time with it. Like I watched it on a Friday night, And it definitely is one of those Friday night kind of films to like switch your brain off. And I think it is gorgeous, but I don't know whether I said in the last pod, like I really think it's lost the spirit of what Jurassic Park is. And it's closer to an Alien film than it is a Jurassic Park film at this point. It's full of lots of conveniences, lots of stupid decisions, lots of really dislikable characters. But I was quite entertained. I still, and I think I mentioned as well, I guess, I still don't feel like we're feeling the scale of the dinosaurs the way the likes of Villeneuve can do that and Spielberg can do that. I just think that this one, it was just quite forgettable, really, and I just found it. That's the biggest
sin, isn't it? It is. Yeah. It is forgettable. Like I'm looking back now to like cast my eye over like how I felt about this and that. I'm like, I can remember it, but just it to be honest, it felt like quite a rehash of Jurassic Park 3. And really interestingly, about a week or two before that, I watched Jurassic Park 3, which is the one I didn't like much as a kid. It was the one I looked
Jurassic
down
Park
upon.
3.
I think 3 is good, and I think the reason people hate it is there's a dream thing and there's a Velociraptor who says Alan, and like that still annoys me. I get it, but it doesn't write off the entire film. And I don't know. Is it another one though with like Alien 3 in the Alien series, where as the sequels get progressively worse, people look back and go, actually that's not that bad, or like that's better. That there is a little bit of that kind of reappraise or that side of things.
I think.
But, yeah.
I was just going to say, I think when you're in the territory now of there's 6 Jurassic films maybe, you do look at franchises like Alien.
7, I think, actually.
7, yeah. Well, you look at stuff like Alien and you're like, oh, do you know what? Like, it's pretty consistently good, actually. Like it's quite odd. Like, even people don't like Alien Covenant, which I think is crazy. Like, I really don't understand the hate for that film, but I just think it's a stunning film and really quite scary, like the scariest since Alien, to be honest. And I think when you kind of like look at a franchise along that length of time, really, like this has had they've just genuinely got progressively worse. I think that they've got progressively worse. I think maybe Jurassic World was okay. Fallen Kingdom.
Fallen
right.
Kingdom, I wasn't that bothered about, but I did like Jurassic World. But Jurassic World was very much a Force Awakens in terms of it.
Jurassic World, was okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one when it was like, hey, look at the park and it runs, which was a really interesting thing to do. And like, what would the brand deals be today and all that stuff? I really enjoyed that, and it's very teal and orange, isn't it? It's very that look, like very blue.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
It's
anyway,
fine.
Look. That's the thing with, I think these films still make a ton of money, and I think they'll just keep releasing them because even when
they make loads of money. This made loads, by the way.
It comes out in the summer holidays in the UK, and I'm sure the same in the States. And basically, you go, what are you going to take your kids to? Kids like dinosaurs. And like when I went to see this, there was still loads of kids in the cinema, and they were enjoying it. Like, I just wanted to go back to Jamie talking about scale. I thought Gareth Edwards did a much better job at shooting for scale than the previous Jurassic films that I've seen recently. I think it was done a lot better than, especially Fallen Kingdom. I've seen a video about the end sequence of Dominion because I can't remember if it was on Corridor Crew, one of those, talking about the visual effects, but they were talking about the lack of use of scale and why it doesn't. But we've been talking about that for a long time. So yeah, a shame for me because I do like Gareth Edwards, but I think he's very much as good as the script he gets given, much in the vein of Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
So
can I just say,
go on.
Jurassic World Rebirth, the forgettable film that we've just been talking about, 846 million grossed worldwide. It might be the highest grossing film of the year.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's funny, like the people were saying, Dominion got critically savaged, and it also made a similar amount of money, if not more. So because they're almost critic proof because it's just it's experienced cinema, and what I mean by that is like it's a theme park ride film. I mean, I feel like in this one they tried to. We haven't really talked about it. I won't go too into depth because I'm aware this is our main film. But with, I thought they did a good idea with like they tried to make Scarlett Johansson's character more interesting, with her being like a what's the word? Gun for hire, but not gun for hire.
Like Tomb Raider style,
Yeah, but that's not the word I'm looking for.
Okay, cool. Mercenary.
Bounty hunter. Mercenary, that's it. Mercenary, that's the word.
Yeah.
And I thought there was like an interesting idea there, but all the scenes it felt overly long as well. I think because I just watched Jurassic Park, which was 90 minutes of non-stop dino action, to then go into like a 2 hour and 20-minute film where there was probably no more dinosaur action going on. It just felt really like, come on, like, just accept what you are, which is you're a fun, thrill-seeking ride. Make it sub 2 hours and just give thrills and spills as you go. I appreciate they tried to do a bit of backstory, and also there was a sequence where there was a character who clearly was going to die originally, then test audiences had changed it. I won't say anything else, but I'm sure you felt the same.
Anyway. Just while we're on the subject of like success and stuff, we completely forgot about Minecraft movie was this year, and so obviously that was that done nearly $1 billion. Then you've got Lilo and Stitch again, which people hate, that did $1 billion. But then, right, and this film that has been on my radar for a little bit, I haven't seen yet. It's not been out here yet. It's a Chinese film. I want to say it's distributed by A24, but it's an animated film called Nizar 2. So that's done 1.8 billion internationally, which is insanity.
Wild. Especially because what was the budget for it? I'm guessing less because it's animation, or is that me being stupid and not the case?
Apparently it came out in the United Kingdom, but I don't remember it at all. So I don't have a budget for it at the moment, but that's it. So that's obviously crazy. So
just to say, if you do like the Jurassic Park music in general, though, and the albums and scores around it, the new score for the recent film is fantastic. So you can go and listen to that and have like a really nice rendition. It's not John Williams this time. It is, I've forgotten the name. However, it is definitely worth a listen on Apple Music or Amazon Music, wherever you get your tracks from.
Yeah,
I'm just
so you could buy it.
So I feel bad. Alexander Desplat. I've definitely said that wrong, but it's a great score. Genuinely, really enjoy it. Worth a listen. So there you go.
Cool. I was going to just quickly go through a few films that I've seen lately.
Let's do it.
So I've seen a film called Borderline with Samara Weaving, which you would like, John, actually. Very much in the vein of Ready or Not, if I'm being completely honest.
My bag.
Basically, it's about a guy who escapes from mental hospital, and he's basically a sociopath, and he's obsessed with Samara Weaving's character, Sophia, who's a world-famous pop star, and he has this kind of like parasocial relationship with her, and it's got her bodyguard is played by, oh God, what's his name? Not Ray Nicholson. What was it? It's not there. Okay. I can't find what his bodyguard's name is, but everyone will be screaming it out on the pod. But he's it's Eric Dane, I'm sure, is the bodyguard who you'll recognise from all sorts of stuff. So basically it's like a home invasion style film, and just quite funny and genuinely entertaining. I also watched Transformers 1, which I really would recommend you watch, John.
Is that on Netflix?
That is not on Netflix. No, it's on Now TV.
Okay.
So it's on Now TV, or you can buy it on 4K Blu-ray, which I would probably recommend doing. It's basically the origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron and how they became enemies. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's so good, and it's full of charm, and the action sequences are great. It's just great. It's funny. It's probably the best Transformers film. Maybe people would prefer it to the original, not the original movie from the 1980s, but the original Michael Bay film. It's really, really good. So I would highly recommend that. I then watched a film called Restless, which actually I was not recommended to me by Red Letter Media, but I watched a video from them, who are obviously the pinnacle of film criticism. A film called Restless. And it's essentially it's quite short. It's 89 minutes. Directed by Jed Hart, and it's about a woman who lives on her own, like in kind of like a council area. Like that's the vibe I get. So she's just she works in a hospital, and basically these like people move next door, and all they want to do is party all the time, and she's trying to get a good night's sleep and basically pushing her to the edge. It's basically like Falling Down with Michael Douglas, but just inside a house. And it's about, and you really like, if ever you've had it before. So I was saying to Vicky that when I was a student, we used to live on a mad student road, like, and when I graduated, I still lived on that road for a bit, and I worked in a coffee shop, and so I had to be in at 6:30 in the morning. And when there's people next door, like singing Mr. Brightside at the top of their lungs, like it really captures that feeling of like pure feral rage and hopelessness.
I remember going to, I used to, much like Jamie does now, I used to travel around a lot for work. I used to have to get up at like the crack of dawn to go to shoots. I remember I had to leave at 6 in the morning, or like get up at 6 to go in the van and go to the shoot. And the house party finished at 4:30 a.m. And like, you know, when you just like, so that we were in a block of flats in the Jewellery Quarter, which is part of Birmingham, which is like young professionals / like still people who've just finished uni and still like to go out. And like this house party went on and on and on, and I just thought, I'm not gonna be able to stay awake tomorrow. Like, I just genuinely don't know what I'm gonna do. And it's like I had literally 2 hours sleep, and then I had to drive miles, and then
Did you not go round? Because I went round. So
did you?
Yeah, of course, because it gets to the point where it does get to the point where it's me. It gets to the point where like you try everything, and like you put a pillow over your face, and you stick your fingers in your ears, you put tissue in your ears. Anything really. You move rooms, you sleep downstairs, and then when none of that works, it's like, do you know what? This is bullshit. So yeah, you knock at the door and you say, excuse me, I'm really sorry to be a pain, but I have work really early and you're very loud, so can you please be quiet? And generally, people will be all right about it.
Interesting.
Especially when you say, or else. I also watched a film called Mute Witness, so I got that on 4K Blu-ray. This was an absolutely fantastic film. 1995. Feels a lot earlier, really. You'd feel it was like it's like a 70s film, because it feels a little bit like a giallo, like in the way that it's made. So it's about a girl called Billy, and she's a mute. But she's basically a makeup artist, and they're shooting a film on set in Russia. The film's directed by her sister's boyfriend, and she finds herself basically trapped in the studio one night. After all the filming's done, and she's obviously and she can't contact anyone because she's a mute, so she kind of does like through the phone, like kind of like taps Morse the phone code. To kind of Morse code almost. And what happens is she essentially witnesses a snuff movie being made, so like a real murder on film, and then it goes from there. And she's a witness to this, and it's just about her kind of trying to convince the police / surviving this what's going on, and it creates tension really, really well. There's being chased around an old Russian film studio has never been so tense. It was. I was watching it and I was like, this is, and the cinematography is really unique. Like, it just really it's really special. Way better than the style of the way the film's made would suggest it films or warrants. But it basically pulls the rug from underneath you 15 times. You know, it's brilliant. And then the other one I watched, which is obviously very relevant, is just Weapons. So Weapons by Zach Cregger.
I do want to see Weapons.
Yeah, John wants to see it. So you will know Zach Cregger from the Barbarian film. And he's also directing the new Resident Evil film. So this is basically about 2:17 a.m. Every child from a woman's class, played by Julia Garner, they disappear. So they just get out of bed and they run and they disappear, and they run like almost like Naruto with their hands.
The Naruto
like,
run, yeah.
Yeah, the Naruto run. And it's just about it's filmed like kind of like Magnolia. In like Paul Thomas Anderson in the way it follows different characters, but I would just go into this completely blind and enjoy it. It is obviously marketed as a horror film. I'd say it's more of a thriller. There is some scary moments, but yeah, it's really special film. One of the best of the year so far. So I'd highly recommend that. Maybe we can cover it at some point.
Very good.
But yeah. John, was there any other films, a little summer wrap-up you wanted to mention?
Not really, apart from rewatches. So I reckon today we'll keep it fast and streamlined, and we'll go into Superman.
I was expecting we were going to do Superman first. From 2025, directed by James Gunn.
Are you being serious right now?
Yeah.
you'd let me interview you as Superman.
Sure.
Ready?
Let's do it, Cronkite.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire for what some
it's
might.
A lot of
it's
fire,
it's a lot. Today, the Secretary of Defense said he was going to look into your actions. That's funny.
My actions? I stopped a war.
Maybe.
Not maybe. I did.
In effect, you illegally entered a country.
This is how you're gonna be?
I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman.
It's a very divisive piece of filmmaking, apparently, John.
Yeah. I mean, the nature of it was going to be divisive on the basis of the fandom that came before with the Snyderverse. And people being upset about that ending because that had a very devout following. And
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, sorry. But look, here's my thoughts. In general, I'm not opposed to a more bright and sprightly worldview for DC, and I think it's I think this film succeeds with elements of that. Now we always have this. I always struggle with this bit to say because I'm like, I have read a fair bit of, not as much Superman as you, but you've sent me some key arcs and stuff from Man of Steel, as in the comic line, not the film, and I think it's The Adventures of Superman is the one that follows immediately on with his son. But anyway, you sent me 2 arcs. Do you remember? There's about 12 issues on each. But anyway, it's Brian Michael Bendis and co. And this, color palette wise, looks exactly as it should look. So I will give it I think it looks, color wise, it looks great. What I didn't like about it, and we'll get into characterizations and stuff, but from just visually looking at it, it felt like a downgrade from what we've had before. And this might be controversial, but Snyder's look, love it or hate it, is a very distinctive look. And it's very cinematic. And I know people are like, oh, I hate it, very cinematic, but it is. And a lot of that's around the aspect ratios he uses, whether it's 2:3:5. Now, someone's going to say, but Justice League was 4:3 aspect ratio. I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't going to be, was it? He did that because he could do it on HBO Max. He was basically, at that point, taking the piss. He would never have released it in that aspect ratio. He would have cropped it down. However, in terms of let's just base it off Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Those films are visually so interesting, and this is going for the opposite of that. And I get that, but they really made use of the aspect ratio. And then this film is 16:9, and production wise, it just feels quite cheap. And it's not a cheap film, but it feels cheap and
totally agree.
It feels set bound, and it feels very it felt like. By the way, I like the Supergirl TV show on DC, on CW, I quite enjoyed it. It's what it is, but it felt like that, and I know the tone of that is correct, but it looks like it too much. And for a film with that budget, I don't think that's right. And the other thing for me is the cinematographer thing I sent to you when the trailer came out. He really likes using this 12mm lens, and that basically means it's not quite fisheye, but you kind of get this really distorted edge to it, which means that it elongates. If my arm was at the center to the left of frame, it would really make it stretch and distort to fit it within the camera. And he uses this for lots of sequences. It's also why Superman's face looks really weird when you're flying with him and it's just got his mug on screen.
So that's one of my least favorite parts of the film is the flying bits. I think,
which is key to Superman to enjoy. And I remember people saying, "Oh, they didn't like in Man of Steel. The fact it felt like he farted up into the air because he goes down and then goes like this." That was a criticism I remember at the time.
Right.
But it felt like it had more impact, and I felt like that Superman it felt much more tangible to reality of the force of impact. And yes, there's issues with the end of that first film and the collateral damage and which I think he's addressed in BVS, by the way.
Yeah.
And the kind of what that is. But it felt like if there were 2 super powered beings that came to Earth and they're that powerful, that's what it would look like.
Yeah, of course.
And this film, I didn't think the action was as well directed. There's things
Not at all.
there was a few sequences where it was difficult to follow what was actually happening. There was a bit of we've got into this portal or wherever, or this location, and there's a load of CGI stuff on the floor, and there's a load of CGI stuff up here. And the CGI isn't bad CGI, but do you remember we talked about ages ago with Kubrick, and it was like, you understand the geography of a space, so you're like, this is here, so this door's here, and then that door's there, which means when he walks through this way, if he can't get out there, he's got to go back that way. And like, I feel like in this film, that sense of geography just doesn't exist. And because of that, it's hard to be invested because you don't even know where you're aiming to get out from. So if you're trying to escape, it's not clearly obvious where you're going to or where the other place leads. So that's probably my cinematography / that side of the argument. In terms of the story and the writing, I like the majority of the take of this film. A common criticism I've seen is it feels like you dumped in on episode 3 of a TV series. I think that is fair.
Fully agree.
The opening text is basically like, this proxy war's happening somewhere and Superman stopped it, and now basically Americans are mad at him because he shouldn't have got involved and whatever, okay? And then that's kind of like your initial setup. But I just didn't understand why they didn't show that as the first thing, even if it was through like a news report of that event or something. It just felt really strange to start with him being...
It's not often. It's really not often that I will ask for a film to be a little bit longer, but I think that there was probably too many ideas in this, like too many characters, like a little bit overstuffed.
We'll get into that,
yeah. I think I agree. Like for a film that was 220 million, which was 20 million more than the film that we're going to talk about later, which is Fantastic Four, I think it looks twice as bad. Like I say twice as bad, sorry, like it doesn't look terrible, but some of it does look at like shonky and a bit cheap and a bit TV like, and almost a bit like, I know the thing that people will love, and it's definitely personal preference, so I'm certainly not here. John was more warm on it than I was actually. Like I felt like it was a bit worse than what John thought, but it does look like, we say it all the time, like a comic book has been taken off the page and onto the screen, like it's been painted on that.
And like,
so
that's its biggest,
in that regard,
like, plus
it's lovely,
for me.
Like, for sure,
that colour
but then,
palette is gorgeous. Like it looks just like that Bendis one you sent me, and I reread it because of watching it. And I thought, it's not
directed. The action isn't. I don't think is directed very well.
No,
and
but
then
Snyder's very good at action, I think. Personally, but
he's he's brilliant, but I just don't think this is the film's best moments are the moments when he's not flying around, and the quiet moments with him and Lois. They're the best moments for me. And they're the moments that have done really, really well, and that's where James Gunn, I think, really excels. Like he's great at building relationships, but I just would have liked to see a little bit more building of relationships rather than being thrown in. And I think that it's one of those where I would have said at the beginning, if someone said to me, "Oh yeah, we're not going to get an origin story this time. We're just going to show Superman," because I would have been like, "Do you know what? That's a really good idea," because I'm sick of seeing Peter Parker get bit by the radioactive spider. Like, how many times do we have to see it? I'm sick of seeing Clark Kent crash land into the middle of Kansas. But I think at the same time it was a little bit too like left. It's like so we're here and things are happening. Yeah, it was a bit odd really, and I think that I could have done with that film being 2.5 hours maybe. It was 2 hours and 10. It could have been done with another 20 minutes.
The other thing is, and like James Gunn, I remember when he announced like all the additional superheroes would be in the film, it felt like, ooh, that's a lot to go at. And like there's basically an entire team with, is it Hawk Girl and with
Mr. Terrific.
Mr. Terrific, and then one of the Green Lanterns,
Guy Gardner, yeah.
And you know just enough about them, right? Do you know what I mean? Like they're there, and you get your base, you get your bare minimum of like what they are. But it feels like for me, it's a film for people who read the comics already. Like you can watch it as someone who doesn't know, but if you don't know, it is a bit like, well, who's this guy? Like what are the Green Lanterns?
Well,
do you know what I mean? Like what are they?
I know what the Green Lanterns are, but I didn't really know Mr. Terrific, and so he did the same thing in Suicide Squad, didn't he? He draws upon these. He uses his own like comic fan. He loves comics, so he reads a lot, and he's using that kind of to his as a strength. And yeah, by the way, Mr. Terrific was terrific, and like no pun intended. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. was brilliant, and very close to the comics. But I think for the casual fan, yeah, maybe not so.
Did you feel like, and you and I had a big debate about this, which was, one, we never see him as Clark Kent transform into Superman, which seems like quite a key thing in like the originals, or like even in Spider-Man, watching them like, you know, do the tear away and then off they go into this suit. So there was that. But the main one for me was the fact of like, he feels not very special in this universe. So when they're evacuating the city, like, people don't really care that the city's being evacuated. They're just like, oh, here we go again. And like, if the people within the world are fatigued of superheroes, it's very difficult for you to not feel the same, which is ironic when we've come from, I don't know, a 20-year run of too many superhero films, or maybe not 20 years, but you know what I mean? So it's interesting, that side of it. He felt like not powered enough, and I had this chat with Kate as well, which was, the enemy of this film is essentially, how spoilery are we going? Are we not?
I think we can go to spoilers, to be honest, for this, because I think it's Superman. Like, there's not really much to spoil. There's not much to spoil in any of the films.
I mean, the bad guy was basically, if you've seen Superman 4, you knew who it was going to be anyway. But it's interesting that they, you know, he's battered by a clone of himself for like the majority of the film. It's just a bit like, is that the classic who does Superman fight to have someone to fight that's equally powered as him? Maybe. You couldn't really do Zod because they literally just did it in Flash, which was supposed to really kick off the DCU, and then it didn't do as well as people liked, and obviously other issues, so then it got canned. So it felt, he
felt quite weak in this universe. Like,
but
he felt underpowered to me. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think what is this, 4 years of him being Superman or something like that. I felt like there was the tonal whiplash of the film. This was a film where it was quite funny in places, and the casting, by the way, like, is as close to perfect as you'll ever get. Like, David Corenswet looks phenomenal as Superman, but
too much about to cry. There's a few too many bits where like he sounds like he's only at the edge, and it's just like, you should be at the edge at this point. Like, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway, whatever. What do I know?
So yeah, what do you know, John? Yeah, what films have you been in, John?
Literally.
Yeah, but so this was a personal kind of opinion from me, and some people have actually come out and said to me, like, look, this Superman does exist. Like, he's in the Silver Age. Like, my issue was really, I didn't like how boisterous he was. Like, I did find him fun, and I loved how pure he was. I loved how much hope he kind of brings on screen,
optimism and all that.
Yeah. And that's definitely been lacking from the DC universe. Like,
it's needed at the moment as well.
It is, yeah, and we'll talk about the banging over the head of the political events that are in the film, which I did find a bit odd. But yeah, I just found him a little bit too boisterous, a little bit too like teenagery. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just used to. It was an odd
Superboy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
but not
really.
Quite, but it felt more Superboy than Superman, and
yeah.
I don't know if that was highlighted by the fact that there's a little bit like where he saves a squirrel and stuff, which is a nice nod, and like, they go out the way in this film to correct the wrong they perceive of the Snyderverse, which is like, look, he's doing everything he can to not destroy this building, and look, he's doing everything he can to save these people. So I got that, and like, again, speaking of like doubling down and feel like you're hitting the nail on the head 20 odd times to get people to reassert the point. But yeah, it's one of those films where, like, I thought about it more afterwards. I think one thing we have not mentioned and we should have mentioned is, I think Nicholas Holt's fantastic in this. I think he's a brilliant Lex Luthor. I think
Love him.
Stole it for me in terms of, I enjoyed watching him probably more than anything else in the film. The Daily Planet stuff, I hate, like, they get this little side mission and they go off to like save the day in a little spaceship and then nothing really comes of it. It just felt very like throwaway. It's very James Gunny, like, isn't this fun? And it's just like, well, I don't know, is it? and then the stuff with Crypto, I didn't mind any of that. Some people got annoyed with that. I didn't mind any of the stuff with the dog.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
I liked, I don't know, anything with Nicholas Hoult in, I liked it. Do you know what it reminded me of? Obviously on a far less, there's a sequence with him talking about total whiplash where he basically executes somebody outright, which I was not expecting. I thought, wow, this film's like that. Talking about total whiplash, we've gone from like some severe comedy to that. Like, that's interesting. But I just felt like I think in other iterations, Lex Luthor's kind of lost. I feel like people didn't like the previous representation, did they, from Batman v Superman, which is like fair. I get it. Like people didn't like Jesse Eisenberg's take on it. I mean, I don't mind it, but anyway, but this was like very different. He felt more controlled and like a genuine genius. Do you know what I mean? He didn't. There's a point where Superman's like losing it at him, and he knows he's winning the PR war, so he just sips his cup of tea and basically ignores him. You know, like it's just, I don't know.
But he also dials it up to 11 on like
when he needs to.
Yeah,
when he needs to have
he's
it,
an absolute hoot. So to get on to the casting, I think that it couldn't have been cast any better. I think Rachel Brosnahan is up there with the best Lois Lanes we've ever seen. I really enjoyed their chemistry.
The relationship's never simple, is it? Because like he feels like he's gonna get an easy interview off her, and then she like really like busts his balls over it.
Yeah.
And then you know, and like she has quite a lot of agency in the film. I mean, she rescues him, or the setup is she's going to rescue him with Mr. Terrific, and I feel like again she in that last third of the film got lost a bit. I didn't like the fact she got put off. I just said, you know, on the Daily Planet spaceship, and off they went, or whatever it was, and they just kind of disappeared for a bit, and they landed somewhere really random. They're like, yay, and I just kind of thought, what? It just felt a bit.
Do you know the way that I think and by the way, like I didn't hate it, and I sound like I'm quite negative on it. I don't think it's a great film, but I did have fun with it, and I did quite enjoy it. But I don't think it's a particularly well written film. Well, the writing's okay, but I don't think. I think the screenplay is just tonally strange, and I still think there's too many jokes in it. Like, even though they are a bit funnier than
I thought, it was more restrained. It was more restrained,
yeah.
Most.
But I think the most damning thing is that I can't really sit here and tell you like one thing like that I really loved about it. I found it was just like quite throwaway. In fact, the only moment is when it's in this. You see the still with all the stuff going on in the background, like that still of him and Lois. That's probably my favourite part of the film, where
that's just a nice shot rather than much else going on. But
no,
even that,
he says something really. I can't remember what the quote is. I'll find it in a sec. But he says there's a quote that is really like sweet and kind of like hopeful, like I said earlier.
I just found as well, though, you know, the fact there's like that intergalactic eyeball thing or whatever it is, like, and he's not bothered by it, which is very James Gunn. But it's like, if he's not even remotely bothered by it, then it's really hard as an audience to feel. But
any
then maybe
sense
that's
of threat.
maybe that's what he's going for. I don't know. Just feel it always felt like he wasn't really in much danger. Do you know what I mean? Because it felt like it offered up a lack of stakes. And then Jamie's touched upon this, but there's the proxy war situation. There's two fictional countries they've made up, and it's basically trying to discuss what's going on in Palestine and Israel, and it just felt very heavy-handed, and it was a very interesting choice with the current political climate to even go anywhere near it. But it just felt like, I don't know, I felt like people go to the like, I might be wrong on this interpretation, but my viewpoint was previously, people said like people went to see Star Wars because it was escapism, like after post-Vietnam War, it was like an optimistic take and like whatever, and to get away from these things. People don't always necessarily want to see films about the world around them. Now, yes, you've got Superman, which is obviously nothing like the world around us, but having that in this film seemed an odd choice to me. And maybe even if it was, maybe if it wasn't handled so poorly, like as I said, you don't see Superman stopping in or intervening at the start, which is what the entire premise of the film is about, him stepping in when he shouldn't have stepped in, or so he's being told. You're muted, sorry, Jamie. But it seems really odd to me to include that and then not really do that much with it, or showcase it. Like, if you're gonna do it like
it's as subtle as a brick, I think. Like, in terms of
it's as subtle as a brick, yet still basically says nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's my thing. It's as subtle as a brick, but it's like one of those things where, you know, back in the day when you wrote an essay, you're like, if I include this key phrase, it sounds super smart, but you don't actually understand what it means or any of it behind it. So when you actually have to break down, what does this mean? Well, I don't know, but it sounds great, doesn't it? It felt a bit like that And it's just like, you know.
Do you think so? To play devil's advocate and to maybe because by the way, I do feel the same way as you on that, but maybe people could see it or view it as, well, James Gunn's got a big platform, and maybe he should use that to kind of
highlight issues that are currently going on.
Highlight issues that are currently going on. Do I watch a Superman film to see that? Do I watch a superhero film or? Maybe not, but at the same time, it is about world issues. Some of it, it's about but I don't know. These things, the things in the world, can leak into.
Of course they do. Like it's what inspires the writers at the time. Is what's going on around the world.
Yeah, I don't think it was done well though. I thought it was. I was watching it and I was like, well, fair play for doing that, but at the same time, I was like, it's not done very well. Like, it's not really. You've not said anything. Like, you've done nothing.
And the Superman doesn't seem to act on it particularly either. And also, by the way, for all the people that got really like, oh, Batman v Superman was too political and they hated the bit when he goes to the court and he's arrested and stuff, it literally all happens again in this, and it really made me laugh when I was watching it. I was like, we're basically doing very, very similar plot beats,
but this is getting 5-star reviews, by the way.
And also at the start of that film was he went to a war zone and got in trouble because he basically took out a load of people at the start, and then it was like, oh, should he have done or not? And then the US tried to blame it on, and Lex blames it on. But my point is, like, a lot of the plot and setup it has already been seen. Like, it's not that new and fresh. But look, I actually we're getting towards probably the end of Superman Roundup, but I was going to say, overall, I think I did enjoy it more than Jamie did, but I still think I'm looking forward to watching it on home release, because I saw it once at the cinema. I didn't see it twice.
I'll buy it on 4K. See that CGI, that shonky, inconsistent CGI up even closer. I'll do that.
Yeah, but I think I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Does he become more Superman, less Superboy? Does he have a child in the sequel and it makes him change? I mean, that might be seen to be too similar to what we've just seen in Fantastic Four, but who knows? But overall, for me, it looks, the colour palette wise, looks like the comic. The cinematography wise lets it down. It doesn't feel epic enough in scale. It doesn't look as good as the 77 Superman film.
No.
70, sorry, whatever year it is, like late 70s Superman film. It doesn't look as good
79.
as the second one. It doesn't look as good as Man of Steel. It doesn't look as good as Batman v Superman, and it doesn't look as good as Justice League. Even in the Whedon version, I still don't think it looks well. To be honest, it's on par with probably with how the Whedon one looks in terms of like grading and stuff. So cinematically, and again, no issue with the points James Gunn is trying to raise, but felt cack-handed, for lack of a better description. It just felt a bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
So, well, no, I just wanted to say, like, to leave it on a brighter note before we go into a brighter film, or a film that we both feel a little bit brighter about. Some of James Gunn's writing, when he gets it right, like, I really love it, and it can be like really lovely writing.
He gets really emotional scenes right, like in Guardians 2.
Yeah.
Like he
Guardians
gets
3.
this little thing. Yeah, well, yeah.
But like you've got, so there's a couple of little bits in here, and when obviously we didn't mention Martha and Jonathan Kent and Martha. No, Jonathan's his son. What's his dad's name? Anyway, Papa Kent and Mama Kent. Anyway, so those going back to their house, their farmhouse, their very quaint farmhouse. That's a really nice scene, and they're sitting there, and his dad says to him, "Your choices, Clark. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are. I'll tell you something, son. I couldn't be more proud of you." And that's very much I think that's on par with Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. Like, I think that's such a beautiful moment in the film. And the same goes for the scene that I was referencing a minute ago, when they're sitting down next to each other, or standing next to the window, and all that stuff's going on in the background. And Lois Lane is saying, "We're so different. I was just some punk rock kid from Baker Line, and you're Superman." And he says, "I'm punk rock." And she says, "You're not punk rock." And he says, "I like Strange Fellows, the PODs, the Mighty Crabjoys." And she's like, "Those are pop radio bands. They're not punk rock. The Mighty Crabjoys suck." And Superman says, "Well, a lot of people love them." And she says, "My point is, I question everything and everyone. You trust everyone and think you trust everyone and think everyone you've ever met is beautiful." And Superman says, "Maybe that's the real punk rock." And I just think, though, when he gets it right, he can write something really, really poignant and really nail the emotion of a scene. And so that's the parts of that film. It's almost like I wish James Gunn had wrote it, but I wish someone else had directed it. You know, that's the issue. That's the issue. And the as I've seen the stupidest, most moronic piece of criticism where someone said, thankfully not a professional critic, because we don't trust people that aren't professional critics really, us included.
Aside from ourselves.
Because I've got a microphone, it's true. All right. Someone said, "Oh, I can't believe they've used the original part of the original Superman score. It suggests that the films are linked." And I'm like, right, hold on, moron, just 1 second. Do you think that piece of music, John Williams, is one of the greatest pieces of film music ever written, right? And why do you think that is not going to be used again in the same franchise? The same as Indiana Jones, the same as anything so iconic. Like, it doesn't, just because it's using the same music or notes from the music, it doesn't mean that the film should be linked. It's just that we've got this piece of music that everyone identifies with that character.
It updates it anyway, and I think one of the things it does do, I do actually quite like the score for this Superman film. They got one guy doing the... I know, it grew on me. I listened to it 3 or 4 times after.
Okay.
And I would say that the electric guitar riff of the theme tune, where it half does it but doesn't use all of the theme tune, and like I know that upset Ollie Harper, who's a big Superman fan, but for me, I don't know, it felt like an interesting interpretation. But what I would say is, in Man of Steel, when Hans Zimmer was really worried about writing a Superman theme, he did something completely different and did the da-da-da-da, and it was like the really simple piano thing. But what was interesting is the chord progression is the same as the Superman theme, but like a diminished 5th version or something. So you can literally play the original John Williams Superman theme over the top and play the Man of Steel one at the same time, and they blend perfectly together.
Get your dad in here to talk about that.
Then you've got the new one.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. But anyway, there we go. Overall, I would say I was warmer on this than Jamie. I think if I was giving star rating, I think it's probably 3.5 for me. I wouldn't give it the 4. I think what I enjoyed about it more than Jamie, I don't know, to be honest, actually what I enjoyed about it more than Jamie. I think basically I just accepted it as like, this feels to me for DC like the right direction. I was pleased with that aspect of it, but I'll be honest, if you look at and compare it to the Batman, which is a very different vibe admittedly, but like the use of cinematography, vintage lenses and all the rest of it for that film, that to me is like what DC film can look like, and that was a very specific dark look, but you could still have something like that for a lighter look, but with the cinematic aspect ratio and all the rest of it for Superman, and I kind of want to see that at some point. But I am looking forward to seeing Supergirl, who we've not even mentioned, but she turns up drunk at the end, and it seemed fun. So look forward to that.
So she did. But anyway, we're going to talk about the second film of the pod, which would be the Fantastic Four: First Steps by Matt Shakman.
Famous around the world, please welcome the Fantastic Four. Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch,
I love you, Johnny!
and The Thing.
Hey, what time is it? Say the thing.
That's not really something I say.
It's clobbering time.
That's just in the cartoon.
Fantastic Four. So that score, like, it's this film, I think we said briefly when we were on with Jane, it's so confident from the off. Like, it feels like they know they've got to hit the ground running, and you get Michael Giacchino doing a score where literally they are singing their own name in the theme tune within like the opening 2 minutes of the film, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this. This feels like a Marvel of old. Now, it's really funny because people always say we're Marvel haters, and yet Jamie and I both turned around and said we preferred this to Superman, and then we got loads of stick over that as well, so you can't win.
Do you know what, John? Do you know what? What do we say about the podcast all the time? What do we say about this podcast?
Give an honest opinion is what it is.
This is an honest podcast, and so we are not here to take money off people to give good reviews. That's what we wouldn't do. You know, we're here to tell the truth. If someone offered us money to do a review and we didn't like the film, we'd tell them, they'd be like, maybe you don't want a review off us, or B, we'd just be like, we ain't reviewing the film because you're not going to like what we're going to say about it. And my issue with all of this Superman Marvel stuff and the creators or these influencers that get paid by the like Sony and not Sony, sorry, who, John? Disney, to give favourable reviews, right? It's like it's really funny because you just know if they give a bad review or they're really honest about it, they're going to get access taken away, and that's it. Like, sadly, that's it. So here we are about to give, after slating Thunderbolts 2 episodes ago, here we are about to tell you why we really liked the Fantastic Four First Steps.
Production design, I think, is a massive thing for this film. It's a retro 60s kind of look. It looks very like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and I think it looks like production value. It looks far, far more expensive than what we've just seen in Superman.
It does.
I like the fact that we've got a family dynamic. I think I didn't hate the original Fantastic Four films. When I say the original, I mean the 2000 ones. But I think like
they're okay.
Yeah, they're fine. And like this film like captured that dynamic. Basically, Vanessa Kirby for me was more so the star of the film than anybody else, because it's basically about her journey into motherhood, and then about how like the power of a mother's love, like not giving up literally to something that's going to end the world if you don't give it up. And like, there's none of the Star Trek needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Like, she's just full blown like, no, I'm not doing it. I also like the fact it's a very cosmic story, and what I mean by that is it felt like they go into space, and like the ship's very retro as well, and like it felt almost like old Trek. Like they just hop over the galaxies, go and see Galactus, and then they fly back. But it all just felt very like visually really interesting. I felt there was a lot of colour in this film. Like, although it's a more muted palette than we've seen in Superman, but it's still got bold enough. Maybe it's the production side and the colours of the suits themselves, but it just felt like poppy, like contrasty, like in a good way.
Yeah.
But I think for me it just felt like fun. Like so many times, like criticism of the Snyder films, which believe it or not I can give too, is at times it was quite hard and it was quite negative. But I kind of feel like, being the mopey git I am, it felt more like, in terms of if Superman did exist, I think it would be more like that than how it is in James Gunn's film. But that's by the by. But Fantastic Four being based on an other world, an else world that isn't our world, made it have allowances for this kind of the interesting tech and stuff, and like the viewpoint of the world around them. Do you know what I mean? It kind of felt like you get away with having the more campier tone, felt more like like that. And I felt for the first time in a while this feels like confident Marvel. They also really dialed back the jokes, so there were still jokes, but it was more like interplay and banter rather than outright they fly now, you know, like that kind of crap, which drives me nuts.
Do you know what, John? That's really even you just saying that's wound me up. I'm like, it's so shit, isn't it? Yeah, no. So yeah, one of my biggest positive points of this was that the jokes are not stupid one-liners undercutting serious moments. They're jokes because there's been relationships built between characters who are
know each other well enough to
are interacting with each other, and that's why it's funny. And so throughout, like I did mention that you've got Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm, played by Eben Moss-Backrack and Joseph Quinn. Them two on screen together are so much fun.
Good.
Yeah, they're just really fun, and they don't need silly quippy jokes to be fun. They just need each other, because they've obviously got they've just written, the characters are written well, and it's based on, the jokes are based on relationships rather than they fly now, whatever you just did that I hated.
That was actually from Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, but it's one of the most horrendous examples of like that modern Marvel-esque dialogue. And I blame Joss Whedon, because I've talked about this before. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but all the kids who grew up watching Buffy are now the people writing these films, and they feel like every single program has to be written in that style, and it just undercuts so many things. So like, I always complain with modern Star Trek, there's so much I love about it and so much it does right, but they just quip away, and it's just like, this is not what this program is for.
This is a military operation. You're on the bridge.
It's a military operation. But my point being that, you know, even in yes, superheroes do quip, but some quip, not all of them. Like Spider-Man always quipped, and Deadpool quipped.
Yeah.
But like Wolverine and co in the X-Men didn't always quip every 5 minutes. Like it's just not their it wasn't their thing.
You can have humor, you can have sprinkles of humor, but I think that this adolescent, immature style of
undercutting every tense scene with a
please, like it's just like, and this seems to get that balance perfectly. And so I don't know what's happened since. I don't know why this. I've got no idea why this is. This is rated lower than Superman, by the way, on Letterboxd, which is very interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, this seems to get all those things right. Like when you were talking about how it was filmed and shot, what I loved was I think the cinematographer took a lot of inspiration from Stanley Kubrick's 2001. He wanted to shoot it like 2001, so there was like 60mm kind of parts, and I just think overall the film is like a lot of it looks like some of it's on the set of The Shining, where you've got like this bar kind of area. I just think it looks it's the best looking Marvel film, dare I say, ever. I don't know.
I feel like
it's up
first there. It felt like I think
is this the best Marvel film since Endgame?
The best one since Endgame, like every other one we've released. What I would say is I do probably think this is genuinely that.
Well, finally, it is the best one since Endgame, because none of the others were very good.
No, and I think also what was nice about this film is there's no baggage. Like, it's just fresh. The Elseworld thing meant that there was no other superheroes. There's nothing you need to know. It's just, here's a Fantastic Four. They went on a rocket once. They got some powers. Go. I
didn't need to watch 115 movies, 19 TV series.
But we've just complained about Superman for dropping us in halfway through. Fantastic Four does the same thing, but does it well, because it has the newsreels from like the 60s of like, here's the original mission, the man who took us, and it's framed through a talk show, much like Joker was. But it uses these things to help us navigate, okay, that's where we are, and here we go. But Superman not having that made it feel more episodic and more like you're halfway through something and you've missed the first episode. This didn't feel like that, because it did a really good way of filling. It's basically a backstory without being a backstory. Because Marvel, do you remember it went through that phase like everything was like starting from one every time, and it was just like by the time you got to Doctor Strange, you're like, I've seen this 7 times.
Well, it was I think
like I'm just done. But like even then, you knew it was building towards Endgame and Infinity War, so you let it off. You kind of just went, okay, like we'll get there.
Yeah, can I ask, what was your like breaking point for Marvel, for the MCU? So remember, we were once not as jaded as we are now, and we were once just on like the hype train with everyone else, like enjoying every single MCU film that came out felt like an event. What was the film that you were like, this is such a formula now? I think I might be getting a little bit bored of this, because I know which one it was for me. Because when you just said Doctor Strange, this paint by numbers, it wasn't that film for me, but I was like, oh yeah, do you know what? I remember being in the cinema watching that and coming out and being like, that was a little bit shite actually. What was yours?
I think maybe Ant-Man and the Wasp 2,
okay.
Or Doctor Strange. I just remember, or maybe Doctor Strange. I just remember feeling like when I saw Doctor Strange that it was a very formulaic of like I knew the story beats before it was happening. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe. How about for yourself?
Well, it's Captain Marvel for me. I remember seeing that in the cinema,
and also that was released like in between Infinity War and Endgame, which felt really like this is an afterthought. It felt like an afterthought from the off, and like
Do you know what I remember? I remember exactly where I was sitting in the cinema. I went to see it in IMAX, sitting on the left-hand side, and I just remember some girl in front of me getting her phone out to film a part of the film and then post it on TikTok to basically show that she was watching Captain Marvel on opening night. And I was like, oh, this is I hate it here. But yeah, so I mean, finally, it was really funny. Like when we covered what's it called, Thunderbolts, we were like moaning about everything about it. Like it was just not like, it was like, oh, it's the cure for male loneliness, the epidemic, like, and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, right, okay, let's just settle down a little bit, take it easy. But this, I was like, I'm not going again. I'm not going to see another film. I'm not going to see another MCU film at the cinema. And then this came out, and I was like, do you know what? This looks pretty good.
I was pestering you as well. I said to you, I think this is. I finally caved to the review. It's the best since Endgame, but I actually said no. I really enjoyed this. I said I don't know where my scale of like how good it is anymore, because we've been baffled by so many superhero films and like how I feel about them. But in terms of like of the Marvel things that I'd seen in recent years, I enjoyed this. I came out, I wanted to watch it again. I thought it visually was really interesting. I think it had cool use of the powers for each person. I like the fact there wasn't a giant laser in the sky. Let's say the bad guy in this is Galactus, who like devours worlds, so he comes back. There's a bit of an investigation, like Johnny Storm's not just a stud, he actually does some science, and like, I say does some science, he learns the language to help decipher like what's going to happen to Earth, and like it felt like there's a slight bit of investigation. It just felt confident, and I can't really describe to you why, but when you watch it, it feels like they go, we've got something good here, let's go. And I hadn't felt that in such a long time, probably since Endgame. Because Endgame was like where they were like, guys, we're throwing everything at this is it, boom boom boom. And to be honest, it should have been, and they should have had a break, and I still think we'd have be talking very differently about all these things if they'd have just done 2 or 3 year gap. They never would have, but if they'd have done a 2 or 3 year gap and then come back, I think we'd be going nuts for it now, and I think we'd feel very differently about it. And also they wouldn't be as creatively stretched as they were, which is why they've admitted they've made poor content. They basically said we over-egged it. And the fact they even said that is like wild to me. They're like, well, we did too much, and like it was too hard to follow, which it was. And also the amount of end credit scenes that were building to things that never happened. Like there's a load of stuff around about the Eternals now, which I didn't see, but again, I kind of phased out at this point. But there's people being like, no, the Eternals is actually really good, and like it needs to be re-reviewed, and actually, you know, they got cold feet over the wrong things. They didn't want to take it in a new direction. But anyway, by the by, Vanessa Kirby kicks ass in this.
She's brilliant. Yeah,
I think she's brilliant. She's got a really good relationship with Pedro Pascal, because it's not perfect. The whole point of their relationship is the fact of like it is flawed, and like he's so buried in the science and the work that he struggles emotionally at points. Whilst she counters that, but also she can hold her own. She effectively saves she effectively saves the Earth through the power of love, which sounds really bad when I say it like that, but it's kind of leaning into that Harry Potter thing or whatever else. But what I was going to say was, the other thing I liked is like there's a initial plan to stop the big bad, which goes wrong, and it's like around the world working together, and I thought that was really cool and really interesting. But I also like the fact of the way it's dealt with is it's not really a big punch-up fight, is it? It's clever trapping.
Yeah,
like,
it's not. It's not. You just do normal paint by numbers, cookie cutter thing that we've seen time and time again. Like it's actually like someone's actually tried, and that's just really nice to see. I thought so. Pedro Pascal, like, I did think he was probably the weakest out of the 4, but not.
Yeah,
I didn't say. I think people are saying he's bad. Like, I think some people have got a little bit of Pedro Pascal fatigue, maybe. Same as when people had a little bit of Timothée Chalamet fatigue, you know.
And Glenn Powell, when he did too many things back to back, it just happens.
Excuse
sometimes.
me, no one had Glenn Powell fatigue.
Glenn Powell summer
during Glenn Powell summer. No, and so I wouldn't say he's bad in this. I would just say his character, Reed Richards, just isn't as fun as the other 3, you know, and not
he's
as
not in the comics. Like he's always like the really dire, like everything's gonna go to pot.
Very
like,
self-confident.
Whenever you read the Avengers ones, when he's in it, it's like, guys, the universe is ending, and like I'm the guy who's calculated how it all goes down, and like it's always really depressing. So
I would recommend it. Like if people wanted to, if people wanted to go and read some comics, like, I'd recommend the most recent run of Fantastic Four by Ryan North. That's an all-timer. Like I'm reading that at the moment, and it's absolutely brilliant. And also, if you wanted to go and read some Superman stuff, I would really recommend Frank Morrison's All-Star Superman.
That's the one it was kind of based on, wasn't it, in terms of some of the story beats?
Yeah, I would also. Yeah, I'd recommend that. I'd recommend Birthright is also brilliant, and then Man of Steel by Brian Michael Bendis takes a little bit of a different take, and obviously Brian Michael Bendis is a legend, so I'd recommend those, like, if for a starting off point, like to read. But yeah, we've got a question, and then I just wanted to dive into. I want to talk about like superhero film box offices. In fact, let's do that first. So
do it.
I was thinking, like, when we were watching this, like, you know, when you said, what happens, like what would have happened if they'd have took a 5-year break or something, like,
literally 2 years, because they had, like, we've had two phases have come and gone, like, after Endgame, and I don't really know what the hell went on in them. Or care,
no idea.
or particularly care, which is sad, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're all underperforming. Like, so superhero films, like, are underperforming now. Well, I say they're not underperforming in terms of, like, versus other films, but in terms of what the studios want. Like, you've got budgets of essentially between 180 million and 220 million. Captain America: Brave New World, which didn't do very well at the box office at all. And then that was 180. Thunderbolts 180. Fantastic Four did 200, and Superman did 220. So actually, like, Superman is the 6th highest grossing film of the year with 606 million, which is nothing to really. It's probably broke even, I would imagine, after the marketing budget and stuff. Thunderbolts, though, 382 million, like, really not very good at all. So I think they are on the decline, and I just can't really. I was saying to John before the pod, I think the next one that will probably do real good money would be the Batman 2, which is not due till 2027. But John, obviously, we've also got Avengers Doomsday coming out. I'll be honest, I think that is going to get very, very poor reviews, because there's been loads of rewrites, and they're writing the story as they go along when they're filming it.
I would say they apparently did the same for Infinity War and Endgame. They did a lot of shipping in that. I feel like those films, when we talked about the Star Wars prequels and how they're made and they're shot on the green screen, and you can change a lot of it. You can literally change entire plots and rework it in post. I feel like that is essentially the model for a lot of the Marvel films. And, like, especially when they get all the Avengers together because of scheduling conflicts and whatever, I think it's especially that way.
So Jane said on the pod that time, like, probably when one of the first episodes she came on, she said when she spoke, and I don't want to. In fact, I think she said. So I don't want to I don't want to put words in her mouth. But I'm sure she said that when she's spoken to some of these actors from the MCU films, a lot of the time they don't even know what film they're filming.
They've
for.
said that in interviews previously, though. Yeah, like, you can see that online. It's literally like they're like, I wasn't sure what that filming slot was for, and they might not always be told because of, like,
plot and spoilers and stuff like that, yeah.
And stuff. So yeah.
I mean, I don't really know what to think. I think obviously Spider-Man 4 will probably do well, because Spider-Man always does do well. Spider-Man
always does well.
Yeah. And Doomsday will probably do well just because it's Avengers, but I think it's going to be a very bad film. I really do.
I think. Sorry, I always smash my glass over there. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. I don't know if it's got some of the swagger that we've just had and the confidence from Fantastic Four. Then I think it could happen. But we just need to wait and see. I mean, yeah, it's interesting times. I mean, I am also aware, and Jamie and I have talked about this a few times, which is, we are also not the main target audience for this now. Like, I'm 33 now. Jamie's 35 or 36 now?
36.
36, okay. So, like, I'm fully aware, like, there will be plenty of 10 to early 20s or even mid 20s who are enjoying these films still and are still going, and that's absolutely fine, and I'm more than happy to accept, like, I'm not going to like everything about all of them all the time, and they're not really aimed at me, and, like, that's okay.
Yeah, we're not the target audience anymore.
And like, I completely accept that, and I hope you've just noticed from the review we've just done, I'm not here to just bash. I'm not saying Fantastic Four is the best film I've ever seen, by the way. I just think for a modern Marvel film of what's come over the past 5 or 6 years, it's the most confident and the one I've enjoyed the most in that period.
It's also had actual focus for once, you know, like, it's because it's been genuinely well written and had an actual focus and effort
put into it. It's the third time it's been adapted in, like, 10 years. That's the other reason they had to do well with it.
Crazy.
Because you've got the 2000s one, then you've got the Josh Trank one, which tanked. So, you know, and they needed to get it right. And I tell you, if I'm looking forward to anything in particular from Marvel, the thing I'd really like them to do well, I'd love for them to really nail X-Men. I'd love for them to do more of the 90s or 80s comic accurate look. I know we've just had X-Men 97, which I did enjoy, etc. But I would love a live-action one where it hits it off, because we got teased parts of it in Deadpool and Wolverine yet again. Like, oh, you know, like here's this and here's that.
Yeah, of course.
You don't see it. And the Bryan Singer ones, they kind of look like the X-Men by the end of it, but they're still in the leather suits.
I'll be honest, I like them.
There.
I like the Bryan Singer ones.
I fully like them for what they are, and they're actually kind of the films that got me in superhero movies. The first superhero film I probably saw was X-Men Original, like the 2001. So you know,
Yeah.
But I want them to go like they do for Fantastic Four on it. Embrace the campiness, embrace the costumes, and go all out. Don't give me a 50-50 version. And there we are.
Anyway, we've got one question. So David Ellis writes in, just like you can find a question sticker usually about 48 hours before we record the pod, or you can write into moviesinapodshell@gmail.com. And David says, who is quite a big Superman fan, what are your thoughts on the cinematography for both films? I was disappointed with how Superman looked overall, especially compared to the incredible cinematography of Snyder's Man of Steel. I know we have touched upon most of it already. I think, I just think the main difference is that Snyder really, really knows how to shoot action, and he really tries to be as cinematic as possible, and I just think that really works for the genre.
His mother or father, I can't remember, one of them were or still are artists and painted frames, and he talked about how he sees frames as paintings. So that's why you get your extreme slow motion to like focus on like a key emphasis of a moment, and that's why those films are beautiful. In so many sequences you get this amazing imagery and so many screen grabs that you could have up on your wall as like artwork. I didn't feel like that once for the new Superman film, and I'm not just saying that to be honest. Maybe the one you said of the purple thing in the window and the silhouette and the silhouetted against it. Yes.
Well, the only other one would be when he's lying right at the beginning, where he's lying in the snow. I think that's there's a couple of like, but overall, like I think that it's quite a generic looking. Do you know what I'd love to see? I'd really love to see someone like Roger Deakins get involved in a superhero film just to see.
Would he do it?
No, of course he wouldn't, because he wouldn't, and I wouldn't want him to do it either. Well, he would do something like the Batman, like, you know, like, but obviously they've already got.
Cinematographer's not doing the sequel. He's gone off, and he's not doing June 2 either. So he's not doing. Sorry, he's not doing June 3, and he's not doing the Batman. He's gone off to do the Beatles film. Yeah, I'm pretty sad about it.
What are they gonna do?
I love what he does for June.
Yeah,
but maybe he feels like he's done it. Because he has, but
yeah,
you know.
But I mean,
Anyway.
that's why I think that, again, Snyder, most of the time he's a really good. I think he's a good director,
visual director.
But maybe not a good writer. And I think we need to see a bit more. And maybe this is the reason why Fantastic Four was good, because Disney didn't get involved so much, you know.
Well, did they not get involved? Did they put all hands on deck and paid even more attention? Had they gone too offhand before? I don't know.
I would imagine that there's been a lot of creative control taken away from a lot of directors. Chloe Zhao, and what's his name from Evil Dead?
Sam Raimi.
Yeah, I think.
To be honest, Doctor Strange 2 for was probably one of the most interesting films.
You know, that's one of the lowest rated out of all of the.
It is, but I like the fact.
Is it better than Kraven the Hunter?
I haven't seen Craven, but what I was going to say was there's Raimi-isms to it. There's like, it feels like a Sam Raimi film in lots of parts of it. So I'll be honest, I actually had a better time with that film than most. But then, hey, anyway, look, it's also interesting in that film. There's a character called, is it California, who's the one who jumps portals or jumps through realities, and she's like super important. Doctor Strange 2.
I've not seen it.
She's like the character who's like really important in the multiverse, and she was never ever seen again. So they really hyped her up, and she was supposed to be in the Spider-Man. I always get them confused. The Spider-Man with all 3 Spider-Men in. She was supposed to be like the reason in that way everyone knows about the portals, and she comes and helps. But she was literally cut out of it because it was filmed in COVID and whatever else. And they basically, that film got pushed back, and then Doctor Strange 2 came out first. They had to like change the plots for them to fit or whatever. Brilliant. And like, she's not even mentioned anymore. I don't think maybe she'll be in Doomsday, but I doubt it, considering you've had a multiverse saga.
Maybe.
And like
I mean,
many films.
yeah,
But
at this point-
this is why people were getting frustrated, because they're introduced and then taken away. Anyway, back to David's question. Sorry, because I'm going off on a tangent. I do think that this Superman film looked too cheap. When I say cheap, I don't know if it's the way it's key lit, so it's very, very bright and soap opera-y. I don't know if it's because you could get away with that if you then have a different aspect ratio to get like the black bars for the 2:3:5 aspect ratio to feel more cinematic. But it just didn't work for me personally. And I think a lot of my criticisms of the film, I could take a lot of the other issues we talked about, even with the writing and stuff, if it looked and stayed with me more for like visual set pieces, but it didn't.
The scene when Superman's flying at the camera, I think that's
like this.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's
do you know what?
That's getting clipped. But
it's awful. Yeah. Like it's so in like it's cheap. It's really bad. And I'm just like, when someone sees that in post, that they're like, can we just like cut that, because that looks terrible.
Tell me that looks better than the first flight sequence in Man of Steel. Like, it's just not even comparable. Like, that first flight sequence is utterly joyous. But, yeah, you should.
Man of Steel. But anyway, right, look,
worth it.
You can find us on YouTube if you type in Movies in a Pod Shell, all one word, Tony. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts by just searching Movies in a Pod Shell. And what we'd really love you to do is, anywhere you do see us, please like it and please subscribe to it. You don't need to turn notifications on, but just subscribe to it. You know, like, it genuinely helps us out. You can always go on moviesinapodshell.sumupstore.com and buy yourself one of our t-shirts. We have 2 t-shirts at the modest price of £18. And they're not Fruit of the Loom, they're not Giljan, they're pre-shrunk cotton, responsibly sourced, very high quality t-shirts, which you can go and buy. More high quality than this Austin 316 t-shirt I'm wearing. And it's getting towards Halloween, and they are Halloween style t-shirts, so go and do that. And yeah, John, was there anything else from you? Where's he gone? Just in case John doesn't come back, that was John. You can go and find him at jcb.video. You can find me at Movies in a Podshell on Instagram. And if John has gone, then he says goodbye. And he says he also would like me to tell you that his favourite film is Mortal Kombat by Paul W.S. Anderson. And he also loves Roadhouse. Oh, you're back. Okay, cool. So do you want to say anything before you go?
Sorry about that. My internet died. That was really, really ideal timing.
It's all right. I was just saying, I was basically pretending to be you and saying goodbye for you. So, John, anything else to say before you go?
I have to play back to hear what you said. Nothing to add.
Okay, cool, good.
We'll be back soon.
Oh, we will. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. We're going to have to be back in 2 weeks' time because I'm going on holiday to Menorca for 2 weeks. So we'll have to record a little episode, and then I'm going to go and sun myself. Or am I going to Menorca for 2 weeks? The house won't be empty, that's for sure. There'll be people in here coming in and out, so don't try and steal anything. Anyway, John, why did you choose the green behind you tonight?
That is a very good point. I don't know. I just fancy.
Is it because
green.
the Fantastic Four have green suits when people are colourblind?
Should have done blue. Should have
done blue. Never mind. Anyway, it's been lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much for the questions, and we'll see you later. So say goodbye, John.
Bye.
See ya.